We have here a 2002 Volkswagen Jetta with a 1.9 diesel TDI, and the customer wants me to install a race pipe with EGR delete, and I don't think it's a super technical job. Most people wouldn't need a how-to video to be able to install this kit, but I thought I'd do like a product review and a how-to along with my opinion on this product, and I think that's what is most important and why I'm making this video. I'll save my opinion for later. I do what the customer wants in this situation. Let's start the process here. Okay, here's the kit here. Comes with a nice aluminum piece here, fairly well made, wrapped in plastic. It has one of these hoses that kind of looks like it's wrapped in electrical tape. I'm not knocking the quality when I say that. I actually like these type of hoses. This is to change the routing around the EGR cooler, and it comes with all the things you need: gasket, blockoff plate, and that little brass piece right there, which coincidentally on his car here he has a little leak there. You can see the Pepto-Bismol antifreeze caked up on it. All that caking right there is a small leak. We also got a small leak down here on this short hose coming off the head. So that brass fitting will be helpful to eliminate that leak. If you're going to work on a Volkswagen or do this job, you need a pair of clamp pliers like this, or the cable operated style. This is the EGR valve that our race pipe replaces. There are two functions inside this device, and one is the EGR valve itself, which is this vacuum hose and diaphragm runs. The other is the ASV valve, which is this, which closes basically a throttle inside there. Does not work like a throttle in a gas motor. It's mostly for shutdown. ASV stands for automatic shutdown valve, and this replaces it. This tube will need to come out with the Allen bolt here, here, and two vertical ones going upwards into the EGR valve assembly. The tube that feeds air into the turbo from the mass airflow sensor or breather needs to come out in order to do this job. And so we have a clamp here, CCV hose here, bolt here, a few vacuum lines that are zipped to it. A bolt like this one right there, and of course the clamp will have to be taken off the turbo in order to get this hose out.
It was funny watching that guy get so excited about that car.
Where's my parts? Do I have to open up one of these big boxes?
And you drop it down and get the jack in position. And as he just walked up.
After you get this pipe out, you can access the lower bolt on the EGR valve. That's why you have to remove that pipe to get to that lower bolt. It's an excellent view of my elbow, isn't it? After you get the EGR valve off, it's an excellent time to inspect the intake for clogging. This one looks very, very clear. And the reason you want to do that is because some of them are pretty carboned up, like this one I have that is just taken off the shelf. And you can see there it's very clogged off. Okay, this hose T right here has to be eliminated because this hose right here runs over to the EGR cooler, which we're going to be removing. And so we want to just a straight pipe this right here so there's no T because this hose gets eliminated. And this tube needs to come out. It supplies exhaust gases from the turbo to the EGR cooler. Of course, after the EGR cooler, they go from the EGR cooler up into the EGR valve. The other two bolts on this pipe are a lot harder to see, but they're 13 millimeter. We need to remove this EGR cooler. It has 3 bolts. One here, one down here that really can't be seen, and the other one's on the other side over here. As you can see, the EGR cooler has this hose going to it, and then this hose going to the heater core goes to it on the other side over there. So we use the hose included in the kit, follow that hose back to there. The hose included in the kit goes from here straight to the heater core to bypass the EGR cooler. Okay, I'm going to remove this hose from the heater core. And we need to remove this hose from the coolant manifold. Okay, I put this clamp on by sliding it down from the other end. Then I'm going to tuck this down in here. And put it on the heater core after I put the clamp on it. Okay, I put the clamp on the hose, and I just need to put it on the heater core.
Don't be afraid of the trick.
This is fairly difficult to get on here because the hose is slightly fatter than the original. So I usually spray it with some PB Blaster to let the clamp slide on the hose. But you do have to be careful with the heater core because it is just plastic. You don't want to put too much force on that thing. And this one's going to be the same way. Okay, I'm getting ready to remove the EGR cooler, and I still have this bolt. I'll leave that one for last. I have my socket down here on the lower bolt. Usually that one's real hard to get to because the oil cooler line is in the way. But if you see, this has a braided oil cooler line because this turbo has been upgraded to a VNT 17.
But after watching Richard's video,
The second bolt is behind this hose, so I'm going to remove the hose to make it easier. And lastly, the easy get to one. And the EGR cooler's out. And there's where the 3 bolts go. 1, 2, 3. As I said, I really like the quality of this piece. It comes pre-drilled and tapped for a boost gauge, so you can screw this fitting into it for a boost gauge. And one slight detail I don't like is this is pipe thread, and so it tightens up as it screws in, and they sent a plug for it. This car does not have a boost gauge, and this is not pipe thread. I think it'll seal up just fine. This is designed to seal with the O-ring, whereas this seals on the threads by them being tapered. And this really isn't flat here, it's kind of curved. You see that's curved, so they're expecting that O-ring to seal there. I think it'll seal up just fine, but that's just a minor detail that I think could be a little bit better. So I guess it's a different length here, so they give you longer bolts, and it looks like washers on them too. So you need to put the O-ring on here. And a bolt with a washer.
That was like probably, I think, the best ever sitcom made. Everybody liked it.
On this EGR kit, I'm not so sure I like their blockoff plate. It's rather thin. Here's the one that we buy from some suppliers. It's much thicker. They're both made out of hard steel or iron or some type of ferrous metal. That's awful thin. I would worry that it might warp and then you'd get a blowing sound as it leaks between the turbo and the plate. But this is what the customer bought. This is what we're going to use. With the EGR cooler out, we can get a good look at the turbo where the block-off plate lines up. Here's our gasket and our block-off plate. And you use the original nuts with a little bit of anti-seize lubricant on them. Okay, when you install the race pipe, you no longer need these hoses that go to the ASV valve or the EGR valve. So you have to come up with a plan of how you're going to do the vacuum hoses. You could simply just plug them with a golf tee or a screw. Just plug them. But in order to eliminate those parts as a potential vacuum leak on the boost solenoid, I like to eliminate them and just route the vacuum straight to the boost solenoid. And then you just take the vacuum supply coming off the vacuum pump here, run it to here. We'll change the routing a little bit to pretty it up some. That's basically all you need after you install the race pipe is vacuum from here going to this one-way check valve, and then this T, and this T goes down, supplies the vacuum reservoir, and then your vacuum supply goes into the N75 boost solenoid, and then this goes down to the turbo, and your vent hose goes to the breather. Mentioned earlier that there was some antifreeze leak here at this T. You can see that hose there, it looks like it's pregnant, it's bulging out quite a bit, so I'm going to replace that while I'm here. With the EGR parts and all that stuff out, it makes it much easier to get this in and out. And of course getting the clamp on the air intake tube at the turbo is one of the hardest parts of this job. Good to go. Okay, here we have it, a completed installation on a race pipe, with EGR parts removed. It really cleans up the back of the engine bay here to where a lot less stuff in the way. But there is a downside to this, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this video. As I said, it was a product review plus installation guide plus my opinion. And here's my opinion on it. You're not only removing the EGR valve, you're removing the ASV valve. And what the ASV valve does is it closes that throttle there, and it makes it to where it doesn't hump as the engine dies, because the fuel cutoff solenoid, it actually turns off the fuel to them down there. And so as they die, being a high compression engine, they kind of go thump, 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 thump as they die. And some customers might see that, or some drivers might see that as a negative. So the engineers designed this in here so that when the engine shuts off, it shuts off air to it. Therefore, it's drawing air through restriction, so it makes a lot less air come in, so there is no high compression if there's no air. So it doesn't go thump, 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 thump. It just dies without thumping at all. So, and I know this because some of these systems fail, and customers actually do notice it, and they do complain that when it shuts down, it has a goofy shutdown. So, the second benefit of this ASV valve is during runaway. Runaway is when the engine runs on engine oil that it gets either from failed rings on the pistons or from engine oil piped in through the turbo. When the turbo fails, this will shut the engine down. If the engine starts to run away and you turn it off, this will shut the engine down. Now it does not shut it down sometimes when it's really carboned up. And ask me how I know this, because I've been in 4 cars as they've run away, because people bring them to me on the verge of failure and I test drive them and they run away. Yes, it's literally happened to me 4 times. By taking this out, you're eliminating the ability of this ASV valve to stop your engine during runaway. That doesn't flow better. There's no benefit to installing it other than it's removing these pieces from the car. So my opinion of this is don't put it in your car. You can do an EGR delete without taking the ASV valve off your car. You simply install block-off plates. And if you want to see more Volkswagen videos, like and subscribe, and visit my website at www.kansascitytdi.com.